The whole world is watching. You with
but
us?
Are they listening? There we
The
go.
whole
No, it takes 5 seconds for my mic to turn on. I don't know why. Every time.
Yeah, it's just you're always follow the whole world. Just takes you a second. It's all right. The whole world's here though, and the whole world is watching. They're listening. They weren't listening to you because you weren't speaking for a second there, but now they're here. We're here.
The whole world is going to be in Rutherford, New Jersey, August 23rd, 2025, for the 3rd annual Icarus Fest. All gray zone all day. VIP is already sold out. I've got the ticket web link in the description. So get there while you can, whole world.
Yeah. In 4 days, 5 days, we sold out all the VIPs. And in fact, we expanded the number of VIPs, and we still sold them out pretty much immediately. So, but there's still many, many different tickets available. You can come to the whole day. All the events during the day still. We have the general admission tickets still available. So that's where it's at. I think there's still also tickets available for the Jimmy Dore comedy show, which is the culmination of that. Okay, good. Yeah, I didn't know. So I think you can still get, although those are, I don't think there are many of those left either, honestly. So I would go to this link right now, ticketweb.com. Icarus Fest presents Gray Zone Day at the Williams Center. Yeah, do it.
Did you see the screen share on your end, or?
Oh, screen share. What?
Yeah, I was trying to screen share the ticket web link, but apparently it's not showing.
Maybe I could have not been looking.
Cool.
All good. I was in the chat when you did that, maybe. But yeah, everyone. Yeah. So if you live anywhere near the Northeast, the tri-state area, the New York City greater metropolitan area, New Jersey, and you watch this show, or you know about the Gray Zone. If you know about the Gray Zone, you're a fan of the Gray Zone, most likely. So you should come and get a ticket now. By the way, we also priced it as low as possible. So, yeah, it's very, very affordable this time. All right.
All day panels. Yeah. Judge Knapp's going to be out there.
Yeah, Judge Napolitano. Judge Napolitano is going to be there all day. It's going to be, it's going to be a lot of fun. This will be great. So, Michael Weimer, what's going on? Where are we? What are we going to do today?
Yeah, I do want to talk about the right-wing infighting.
I'm good. Always one of my favorite topics.
Yeah. You've got Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes accusing each other of being feds. Which is sort of like, you know, that internet rule where every conversation always ends up at Hitler. Like every internet conversation, every conversation in politics ends up at Hitler. Every right-wing conversation always ends up at accusing the other side of being feds.
Or a pedophile.
Or a pedophile, yeah. Or part of a federal government international pedophile conspiracy with,
Speaking of which, can we deal with Michael Tracy blowing the entire Jeffrey Epstein mythology out of the water?
Yeah, we talked about that the last couple weeks, but yeah, Michael Tracy has been ruining everybody's fun on this one.
Super not surprising. I mean, we didn't get all the way into it, did we, last week?
More so on the after show, but we've mentioned it just a little bit in the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Michael Tracy, for those who don't know, go check him out on, I think mostly on Substack. He's doing this, but on Twitter as well. And I'm just completely unsurprised. I never took the time to do what he's done, but I've always had the same exact suspicions about the Epstein case, the allegations, the mythology around it. Which is to say that Michael has shown that there is just no evidence whatsoever that there was anything like a pedophile, what's it called? Pedophile sex trafficking ring associated with Epstein that
No, that could
the
ever
victims what's that?
no evidence that could be considered admissible in court.
Not even close. Yeah. So in every single one of the accusers was actually either an adult at the time that they knew Epstein, or in fact, I think they all were adults at the time they knew Epstein. And many of them have admitted that they were just sex workers. They were adult sex workers who were basically using the opportunity to cash in because Epstein had a lot of money, etc. I mean, there's just so many holes in this story. The only thing, what's interesting though is, I wasn't at all surprised that it turns out that there's zero evidence of any kind of pedophilic sex ring, sex trafficking at all. There's neither pedophilia nor sex trafficking. There's no evidence of either, right? What Michael has not really poked holes in is what I think is massive amounts of what's it called? Circumstantial evidence that Epstein being involved with either Israeli or US or British intelligence agencies in some capacity. There's just way too much. Like going all the way back to when he was teaching at Dalton when he was 21 years old, all the way from there forward. Just one connection after another. I mean, and he was directly working with, what was it? Saudis. He was actually directly involved in sort of diplomatic negotiations and dealings between the Saudis and the Israelis and the Americans back in the 2000s, I think it was. It's overwhelming. So there's no evidence of a satanic pedophilic sex trafficking ring whatsoever, but there is abundant evidence, at least circumstantial, that he was, plus all the dealings with former Israeli prime ministers who stayed at his house in Manhattan. There's abundant circumstantial evidence that he was involved in some way or another, had to be, with the doings of the Israeli and or US and or British governments and their intelligence agencies. What do you think?
I think I liked how Michael Tracy pointed out today that some Epstein victims are being represented by the esteemed Gloria Allred. That Gloria Allred has come out of the woodwork on this one. I mentioned in the after show last time, but Epstein came out of the Me Too era. This story captured the public's attention with the Me Too era. This is a Me Too story. This is the public being fascinated with the sex lives of powerful men and allowing salacious rumors to take hold of their minds and become hysterical about it. I do think, there's sex trafficking in that there was prostitution happening, and that some of the girls were probably teenaged between the ages of 14 and 18, and were being recruited by Leslie Wexner and the likes for Victoria's Secret models, that they had an in with the Victoria's Secret thing going on. The painting of Bill Clinton in a dress at the island, and the painting of George Bush playing around with Jenga towers and paper airplanes. I think there's something going on here. There's something going on with powerful people. It's not as super crazy as it looks. Well, it's not as illegal as it looks. That's the thing, is that these rich and powerful people, I think, did a lot to cover their ass and do as much legally above board as possible to not implicate themselves. I think rich people aren't idiots, and they aren't just going to throw themselves into illegal behavior like this. That being said,
Oh no, go ahead.
Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are going to be subpoenaed by the House Republicans coming up soon in relation to the Epstein case. And Ghislaine Maxwell was interviewed by the DOJ. Said that nothing.
Her name is Ghislaine. Okay, it's not Ghislaine. Okay,
I'm pretty sure it's
not.
Ghislaine.
It's really not Ghislaine. It's not Ghislaine.
We'll have to have her on the show to confirm.
And in fact, if you're like proper British, I think they say it Glenn. But it's not Ghislaine. Okay, that would be in court. That would be called prejudicial.
Prejudicial.
I
see an S. I pronounce it. That's all. I see the letter S. I pronounce it.
Gotcha. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Never mind. But yeah, so the Clintons are going to be subpoenaed by the House of Representatives. Ms. Maxwell has been interviewed by the DOJ. Mm-hmm. That's going to come out potentially. That might get released, but apparently no.
By the way, nope. Tracy has shown. Mm-hmm. I think almost conclusively that Ghislaine Maxwell has done nothing. Mm-hmm. Is completely innocent of crime. Nothing really. No, there is zero evidence that she trafficked any underage person. She might have. I guess she procured women to give him a massage, technically, and I suppose then they had sex with him. So I guess
that's the thing.
So pure procurement, but of adults again.
Yeah.
So something that should be legal in the first place. It should be legal in the first place. What Epstein and Maxwell did, at least of what there's evidence of. There's no evidence of anybody who is illegal in the state of Alabama being trafficked by Epstein or Maxwell. The age of consent in Alabama and in all the southern states is 16. But even then, I think there's not even evidence of under 18. There's no evidence of anyone under 18 having sex with anybody associated with Jeffrey Epstein, believe it or not. Now, there are some people who've said that, and I don't think it's impossible. But again, there's just no evidence of any of this. So,
yeah, that's what I was saying a couple weeks ago, is that from my understanding of billionaires in that circle, is that there's a network of women who do legal above board massages that are known by this group of billionaires. And then next step happens. I'm going to offer you a great salary to be my full-time masseuse. And then I'm going to propose to you, and then there's billionaires offering masseuses varying levels of contracts and trying to, undercut the masseuses. That's sort of how the network is. It's the massage is the in. And then once you have the massage as the in, you can get them working for you full time. And then from there, you can have a personal relationship after that.
So again, I want to make sure we keep our eyes on what I think is the important thing. And even before I heard from Michael Tracy about the vacuity of the allegations about pedophile sex rings, as I said, I don't think Tracy has actually damaged the theory about Epstein being tied to intelligence agencies. I think that theory, which is always the more important theory anyway. Otherwise, he's just an ordinary criminal who should be put in prison forever or executed, right? If he was actually raping children, that's simple. We all agree on that. There's no controversy about that. What was controversial is whether he's actually working for Mossad or the CIA or MI6 or all three. Probably, in my view, probably all three in some capacity or another. And that doesn't mean he was a staff agent, a field agent of any of them. Doesn't mean he was on the payroll necessarily of any of them. They all use civilians across the world in various ways, often sort of basically laundering money for operations, for covert operations. All three do. Mossad, MI6, CIA do this. They run these black operations, right? Secret operations. That's what they're known for. And they need to finance them. And so often that requires, having third parties launder the money. And by the way, Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, was known primarily, and this is not controversial, this is known, I think, it's established, that he did this in major ways for the early Israeli state, and I think all the way into the 80s and even 90s, serving as kind of a financial conduit or money launderer, essentially, for Israeli intelligence and espionage operations. So, yeah, I mean, I just think there's just way too much circumstantial evidence. He was just way too close to that entire world, not just close to, he was in it, and he was working in it in various capacities for years. And why else would there be all those cameras in all the rooms? And now the thing is, what I'm getting at is the Mossad, is a depraved, disgusting, one might say demonic organization, but they're not stupid. And there's no need for them to have gone out and somehow procured underage children to have sex with super famous men, which seems just implausible if you think about it. It's more than enough to get of age women to have sex with these famous men on camera. That's plenty, right? If they happen to be Bill Clinton and Bill Gates and whoever else, all the other government officials in particular who were associated with Epstein, if they were having sex with a 30-year-old who wasn't their wife, that's plenty with which to blackmail them. Now, the other thing is that I've said this many times. I mean, we know this. There's many, many books written about this very thing, including by pro-Israel, Israeli journalists like Ronan Bergman of the New York Times, who wrote an entire book about this, about the Mossad's whole history of using sexual blackmail, hiring prostitutes to entrap guys and then threaten them if they don't comply with Israel. And they have an entire unit that spends much of its time surveilling, or used to, I don't know, before the war at least, surveilling people in Gaza and the West Bank and picking up communications from them and finding the gay ones and then using that to force them to be collaborators. But I mean, it goes all the way back to the 1940s, 50s, 60s. I mean, they were like hiring prostitutes in places and getting the prostitutes to seduce various foreign national diplomats whom they wanted to influence for various reasons. So it just makes all the sense in the world. Epstein, by all accounts, was a total player and certainly liked young women and liked women in general and liked sex a lot, etc. So he was a perfect mark, and he was a Jew boy from outer Brooklyn. So perfect.
Yeah. The more I look into the case, the more he seems like a Gatsby figure, like somebody who didn't really have any actual like pedigree behind him, like just a
working
smooth
class
talker. Yeah, he had class.
From Coney Island. He's from Coney Island. Yeah. I mean, he's not what's interesting to me about Epstein is he comes from totally working class origins. There actually is a Jewish working class population in New York, which is in that neighborhood in Brooklyn, around Coney Island. And that's exactly where he's from. And I've known several friends of mine are from there. These are Jews without money, the infamous. I mean, it's the last remaining working class Jewish neighborhood in America. And that's where he's from. So yeah, he doesn't come from means. Truly self-made in a sense. I mean, I guess. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so
somebody charismatic who could charm people with more power and get himself into social circles and kind of, climb a social ladder like that.
No, the thing is,
what it looks like.
But no, to me, actually, it doesn't. I mean, actually, it looks like he's been used by intelligence since he was 20 years old.
Well,
21, I think. I mean, at Dalton, he got this fancy job teaching at Dalton, which is one of the top prep schools.
How does a college dropout, or did he even go to college? Like, right, college dropout. How does a college dropout get that job?
Yeah, none of it made sense. But he keeps getting one position after another when he's literally, I think, 20 or 21 years old onward. And then within a few years, what's the deal? He's working with the Saudis and the Israelis, brokering some whole thing with Khashoggi and all this.
Yeah.
He's involved in all of it. So, I mean, there's just, and then he becomes best friends with Barack and other Israeli prime ministers, and I mean, and all these major American politicians are at his houses all the time, and his houses are all over the place, and he has more than $1 billion in terms of real estate. I mean, his properties are like, he owned, I think, the most expensive house in all of New Mexico. And then he owned like one of the most expensive houses in all of Manhattan. And then he had, then he owned an entire island. And so, and he had no visible means of income. So
that's the real story. In addition to intelligence and blackmailing, the money laundering that had to be occurring here. Like, how does Leslie Wexner give him the right of attorney?
And the whole thing with Wexner. Yeah. So, and all these people are like arch Zionists, by the way, all the people he's associated with, like Leslie Wexner. How could he not have been working for Israeli intelligence? That just seems impossible. They would have been absolute idiots not to use him. So, so half of the Epstein story is completely true, or at least I think is completely true, which is that, he was working in some kind of blackmail ring or operation for Mossad, but no, it wasn't a pedophile sex trafficking network. Idiots.
Well, this is the thing. Kim Iverson interviewed Alan Dershowitz, and she asked him, "Hey, was Jeffrey Epstein like working with Israeli intelligence? Was he blackmailing people? That's one of the rumors out there. Was he blackmailing people to support Israel?" And Alan Dershowitz is like, listen, lady, I've been supporting Israel since before you were born. I don't need to go to some island and get massages to support Israel.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah. Dershowitz is funny. Like half the time he's absolutely correct. And I completely like sort of heroically correct about certain things. And then the other half, he's just arguing for the, murder of children in Gaza. But it's, this is the latest issue around the whole new right wing is falling apart. And I'm slightly sad about it because I thought that new right wing brought a really good critique and had a really good analysis generally of the Democratic Party, of liberalism. But I'm also mostly glad because we're now finding out how just really juvenile, and that's really the word that much of the new right has been, even sort of the better parts of it, like the libertarian parts of it. I'm not going to name names, but people can think of certain very prominent comedians who I think are fabulous, who have been going on and on, who are libertarian, going on and about Jeffrey Epstein being the head of a global, global pedophile sex trafficking ring. I mean, they bought it, and it's just so embarrassing because to me, it really requires sort of an adolescent mind to believe that kind of thing and to pursue it when there is no evidence. It's really very much the right wing Me Too. For those of us who were skeptical of the Me Too movement from the beginning, just think about it. That's who you've become. You've become, what was her name? Alyssa Milano, those idiot actresses who were, talking about how they were violated or raped or whatever when some director, made a pass at them in 1994. That's what you guys have become around Epstein. It's the same psychology, just with different politics.
That was one of the things I want to talk about with Tucker. Well, I think the pro-Trump plan trusters have abandoned the Epstein thing or never really bought into it. But with Tucker and Candace, I want to talk about that because Candace was talking about how she's rehabilitating Harvey Weinstein, that she was the journalist to break the Harvey Weinstein story, that she's been talking to Harvey Weinstein from jail, that they're pen pals now, and that she looked into the case, and there's very little to no evidence at all of rape, that there's constant communication between these actresses before, during, and after the alleged incidents.
Right.
That there's emails saying, "Hey, would you like to meet my mother soon?" Like, you don't tell your rapist, "Hey, would you like to meet my mother?" and there's there's constant, hey Harvey,
unless he's like a super rich and super powerful Hollywood executive.
Yeah.
Then you would introduce your rape anyway.
Yeah, potentially. But they have this ability to see through the heart.
Mom, look at my new boyfriend Harvey. Isn't he nice? Anyway, sorry.
They have the ability to see through the hysteria on that case, but then immediately are still pushing innuendos about the Epstein case, just mere seconds apart, and they're not able at all to distinguish it on that.
Yeah. It's like it's not just the Me Too. It's the combination of the Me Too movement and the anti-racist hysteria movement on the left for the right. It's those two things combined for the right. It's like, oh my God, the left, everybody's there's racists everywhere. We must find, and then we find out there's some little teeny microscopic piece of evidence that someone might be a racist. Oh my God, everyone must focus on this. And that person he is a racist, and we must depose him and dethrone him and get rid of him and get him unemployed and exiled. And it's the same thing here. It's like, but why is it that I'm still fascinated by this. I haven't seen a good explanation why the right wing is so obsessed with pedophilia. Why is that? Is it because they're all from places and institutions where pedophilia actually proliferates, like churches? Is it that? And Boy Scout troops? Is it because, that's where Republicans tend to germinate, is places where pedophiles actually operate, like in churches, like right-wing conservative spaces? I'm still dying to know. Why is it? Because liberals don't ever think about it. It's not a thing, right? Not that they're for it, but they don't obsess about it. They obsess about racism, which is equally as silly, because they obsess where there's no evidence of it. So, but what is it about right-wingers and pedophilia? Why do they think about pedophiles so much? Could it be that the call's coming from inside the house?
I know every time I bring this up, I always say it's proximity. It's not about how they're inherently right-wing institutions that are perpetuating this, but it's always proximity. Pretty obvious. Again, I think the statistics on public school incidents are up there as well. But there is something, and Daryl Cooper's pointed this out very well, there is something about the elite culture having a culture of transgression. And if you, Tony Podesta's art interests are very much in line with this. The French elite for centuries have been in line with this, that there is
Tony Podesta's art. Okay. So Tony, but I know, and Daryl makes a great deal about this, and I've seen it. I've seen, pictures of his art, and yeah, it looks basically the way Daryl describes it, which is like extremely creepy at best, and like worse than pedophilic, because it's like a more morbid it's like dead kids, right? It's like dead naked kids. It's not just sexualizing kids. Anyway, it's very, very creepy and weird and pedophilic and weird as shit. But okay, that's Tony Podesta. Who else has really weird art in their house? Which Democrat, which important, who none. That's it. It's just Tony Podesta. Okay, so one guy who's the brother of an important Democrat, and yes, sure, definitely important Democrats, but they're not even in power now. But like one, he wasn't president either, but yeah, he was very important. Like one had creepy pedophilic art and it has in his house. So therefore, what? Wait, what if we were to look through all of the, art and artifacts and knickknacks and tchotchkes in all the houses of all the people who supported Trump? If everybody in Trump's cabinet, do you think we might find anything that would be weird? I mean, sexually weird, perhaps? Do you think like the Trump cabinet people, like all those chicks with fake tits, in the Trump administration and around the Trump, maybe like Nancy Mace, people like that, do you think they would be anything weird in their house? And what would we draw from that? That the Trump movement is all perverts? No, it's just silly and juvenile. Can we talk about the actual issues? There is no pedophile fucking ring doing anything anywhere, idiots. Jesus Christ. It's just so stupid. It's what teenagers think about.
Well, okay. I was going to get into, I mean, this isn't a partisan thing. I was going to get into Skull and Bones. I was going to get into Bohemian Grove, the Franklin scandal. And those are all Republican incidents for sure. And they're all waspy blue blood types. But there is a culture of transgression, a culture of Luciferianism.
What?
A culture of occultism.
No, there is not. Among elites? You mean among the people who run the country? You mean like the political leaders and the leaders of cultural institutions and academic institutes? Is that
and
the ruling
technology
class
as well? Yeah, Peter Thiel as well. Peter Thiel, Elon Musk as well.
Where's the occult? Where's the evidence of occult? What is this? I have never seen this.
I've seen Luciferianism
among any of these people, and I've known them my whole life. I've been around them my whole life. I've been near and around and among them, married into them for a while, my entire life. Never once. In fact, I guarantee you, none of the people I've known would even know what you're talking about. If I said a cult, they'd be like, "What? Rod Serling?" They'd be like, "What are you talking about?" They wouldn't even know. It's as plausible as there being a Jewish conspiracy. And by the way, a whole lot of overlap there. Many, maybe most, were Jewish. The elites, or that I've known, and they don't talk to each other. There's no organization. There's no like red hotline phone that they all pick up simultaneously and talk to make plans to govern the world. It's like really silly right-wing fantasy that basically, I think, keeps us from looking at what's really going on in the ruling class. They're not running around in the woods sacrificing children and drinking their blood. They're running around the world. They're running around the world, governing the world, and going to war so that they can continue to govern the world. That's more what they're interested in doing, and actually what they're doing, which is actually the problem.
In 1995, Alex Jones infiltrated Bohemian Grove by pretending to be a member of the Bushes and filmed a mock sacrifice of a baby in effigy to an owl deity. And he interviewed a man on the street, David Gergen, rest in peace, passed away a couple weeks ago. Top Clinton advisor David Gergen, about Bohemian Grove, said that he exposed the whole thing. And David Gergen gave him a stern talking to, said, "You should have not exposed that. That is a closed member club. That is not your business to talk about."
Yeah. And therefore what? David Gergen, he was on Gergen and Shields for about 20 years on PBS NewsHour. Every night. David Gergen, one of the most famous political pundits in the country for 2 decades, totally mainstream, said what? And what do we have evidence of?
That he was a member of a secret society that met in the forests of Northern California that sacrificed babies in effigy.
Oh,
that is known effigy for having
with babies or effigy babies, real babies or effigy?
Baby, yes, but again, this is an effigy of a baby. This is documented on film. I wouldn't be, and there's a history of gay prostitutes going there, and this is mostly Republican stuff.
Oh, shit!
Mostly gay prostitutes. I know. And there's
gay prostitutes.
Yeah.
Well, they really are terrible people.
And this is something that has been happening since the late 19th century.
Yeah.
Closed off.
Meanwhile, these guys were running the Vietnam War. But no, let's not talk about that. They have gay prostitutes. That's, Libs at TikTok. She gets really pissed off about that kind of thing. Let's talk about that.
It's concerning when public officials who profess to be Christians are doing mock sacrifices to other gods. And
they don't do this, dude. Really?
It's documented.
You think this is what Nancy Pelosi does on the weekends? You think this is like what they? This is like what? Chuck Schumer is really a Satanist, not just an old Jew in Brooklyn. Really?
It's been documented that the upper levels of Masonry.
You don't need this. They're demonic enough. They're Democrats. Mm-hmm. They're demonic enough. You don't need to make them into the drinkers of children's blood. It's really silly. There's no point. And there's no evidence. There's none. But you know what there is evidence of? Them killing lots of children all over the world for my lifetime. Just not demonically and satanically, but imperialistically. Yeah. No, they've killed and are killing as we speak. Right now, there's probably some kid running around Gaza missing an arm right now, bleeding, stumping his arm from his arm. Yeah, because of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, not because they're Satanists, but because they're American imperialists.
Well, I think the people who burn effigies of babies and sacrifice them to owl gods in the middle of the woods have a
Name a politician. Name an important American who did that.
David Gergen is a member of that club. And Alex Jones got in there by pretending to be part of the Bush cadre. Richard Nixon said that he was invited out there and hated it because it was some of the most. Richard Nixon on the Nixon tapes talks about it. That this is.
Really?
It's in the Nixon tapes. It's in the Nixon tapes. But, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Teddy Roosevelt went out there. And again, but again, this is just elite secret society culture, skulls and bones. It's
Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Who
I'm warming up to.
On profoundly racist grounds, campaigned for successfully the extension of the American empire across the seas. He argued for, on racist grounds, the colonization of the Philippines and the mass murder of Filipinos to accomplish that, and Cuba and Guam. Oh no, but what we need to do is really concern ourselves with whether or not Teddy Roosevelt was in the woods in Marin County.
I think we could be able to walk and chew gum at the same time on this.
What's going on in the woods? The woods are fine. Just because you're in the woods doesn't mean you're doing evil things, you know? Like, what is...
I think we could walk and chew gum at the same time on this, and that if they are doing...
I wonder sometimes.
Yeah. If they are doing religious sacrifices like this, if this is their metaphysics, if this is how they see the world, it's not a stretch to say that they believe that they are. Yeah, the symbols have a meaning, as Flor Ali is saying in the chat, but it's saying that these people do not feel restricted by God or by morality. It's saying that what they want is to serve libidinal pagan gods or demons that give them more power. It's not that they... Now, Bap talks about this and says that our elites are incredibly boring compared to Caligula, and there's a lot in there, but it shows that they are unrestrained, that they want more power, that this is what they're operating from. And I thought it was crazy until I saw the actual ceremony, until I saw it, actually play out. But anybody who looks into the Franklin scandal,
but you didn't see any actual identifiable important American citizen doing anything in the video. You saw it was bonfire. Dark. You saw a bonfire.
It was dark out there, and they and I saw David Gergen get super defensive when called out on it. I saw David Gergen get really defensive when he was called out on it.
David Gergen got defensive. That must be evidence that our elites are all part of a satanic children. What do you call it? Children's blood drinking cult that operates in the woods in Marin County over here.
Mm-hmm.
Sonoma
correct.
County. Yes.
Yeah. But
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
No, you convinced me. You convinced me. So let's go. Let's move on. Let's do some news.
Yeah. Shoot. Man.
Let's be like David Gergen. Do some news analysis.
This is the point I wanted to bring up though about Tucker and Fuentes. It seems that Fuentes is being called up to the big leagues, and he's appearing. His clips are everywhere on TikTok. His clips are everywhere in Iranian broadcast media. That CNN uses him, clips of him sometimes. That he's getting mainstream traction and appeal for his international politics analysis. Tucker threw the shot at him that he was a weird gay kid in his basement in Chicago, being very diminutive to him, and said that he was part of a campaign to discredit the right, just like David Duke was. To which Nick Fuentes said, "Dude, you're a blue blood whose parents were in the CIA. And if anybody's the federal informant, you are. And you are basically insulting your audience when you're trying to pander to the disaffected young men in the basement when you're making fun of me for being there and living that life." Very good exchange with blows, taken both ways. But I want to defend David Duke on this. I want to... my computer's not working fast enough.
In keeping with the theme of this show, which is, I mean, they used to be called, this show, for those who don't know, this show used to be called In Defense of Hitler. So that's what we started. That was used to be the premise, and we kind of just been riffing off of that. But
so David Duke.
Yeah. Not so bad, David. Like misunderstood.
Yes. People always tie him to the Ku Klux Klan, which he joined at the age of 17 in 1967.
So an early adopter.
Quit in 1980, and he was part of rebranding it, putting it in a suit and tie, disavowing the violence, and trying to make it a more legit organization. And he abandoned it because he saw it was a politically hopeless end goal. He figured it was too far gone of a cause. So he... Anyways, I'm bringing him up because he was the first person ever that I saw talk about the plight of the Palestinians on network TV.
Fantastic.
There's a clip of...
That's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. That helps the cause for sure. That helps Palestinians to point out that David Duke has been one of their longest supporters.
Yeah. I've got to show you the clip. I know it's 8 minutes long, so I'm not showing it, and my computer's messing up. But it was during the Iraq War. He went to a conference on the Holocaust in Iran, and Wolf Blitzer had him on the Situation Room to discredit him and to discredit the entire movement and to paint Iran as crazy Holocaust deniers. And David Duke took the opportunity to talk about the plight of the Palestinian people, to talk about what Israel's doing, to point out that Wolf Blitzer was a member of AIPAC, that all of corporate media is compromised on this issue. And I listened to an interview of him with Cenk Uygur on the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur did the exact same thing to him as Wolf Blitzer did for an hour straight. All David Duke wanted to talk about was the plight of the Palestinian people. And all Cenk Uygur wanted to do was call him names, call him an anti-Semite. And all he was doing was advocating for free speech. He was saying with the Holocaust, I don't think people in Europe should be thrown in jail for having an opinion about a historical event. He was saying, hey, you're mistranslating Ahmadinejad. He's not saying death to America. He's saying death to the relationship between America and Israel. He's saying you're deliberately misrepresenting what they're doing. You're being belligerent about this. He brought up the clean break memo. He brought up, so same deal. Tucker discredited him. Tucker discredited Pat Buchanan, did character attacks on Pat Buchanan on similar grounds in 2003. And this is the thing, is right now in 2025, Tucker Carlson had Tony Aguilar on to show footage of war crimes being perpetrated by Israel against the Palestinian people. To, for the first time in his career, be explicit about what Israel's doing. And there does seem to be this containment where anybody further to the right of me is too dangerous on this topic. Nick Fuentes, who is a young boy talking about this in 2018, is too toxic. David Duke, who has been on this for 50 years, is too toxic. Me, the reasonable blue blood who's been on Fox News forever, I'm the reasonable voice of reason on this. We can only talk about this on my terms, and the people who trailed the path and took more of a risk to talk about this issue when there was more to lose are completely discredited. And that's a phenomenon that I want to talk about. That in 2025, people need to go back, watch David Duke appearances, watch everything David Duke has done in the last 25 years, and tell me he's not owed an apology. Like, again,
I mean, what were we wrong about with David Duke? Was he not some kind of fascist Klan sympathizer? No? Or,
well, he was in the Klan.
Not, like,
but
okay. I mean,
a lot of people have done stupid things in between the age of 17 and 30, and he disavowed it. And he's since gotten his doctorate, and he since was a state representative for
he didn't remain
Louisiana.
A white nationalist? I thought he remained a white nationalist. No?
I mean, I don't see what use that term. I'm not sure if he's a self-avowed white nationalist. He certainly advocated for the interests of white people, certainly, but I don't know. But I don't find those words useful at all. But what does that matter? Like, that doesn't disprove anything he said on the Israel-Palestine issue. That doesn't disprove anything he said on affirmative action.
Okay.
And yeah, like, only the radical far right, far right, the people beyond reproach, the people who weren't afraid of being a pariah, a social pariah, were the ones to break ground on this issue. And anybody who wanted to be in acceptable, polite society ignored this issue like the plague because they didn't want to be called an anti-Semite. And the people who weren't afraid to be called an anti-Semite were the only ones raising the alarms on this.
Not the left. The left has been doing this forever. The left has not been afraid. Right? You're talking about the right wing. You're talking about people on the right. The first people to call out Israel, to be skeptical of Israel, were on the right were actual anti-Semites like David Duke.
He's renounced anti-Semitism. I think he's against the Israel Project. It's bad for Jews. You say it yourself. It's bad for Jews. I think if he was an anti-Semite, he'd be pro-Israel. But
I don't. I mean, isn't he like Jake Shields, who's like clearly came to his anti-Zionism because he's an anti-Semite?
I don't think Jake Shields. I mean,
cool. Jake Shields is definitely anti-Semitic. I mean, I've called him on it, and he's just sort of laughed at me. I mean, it's just stupid. But he thinks Jews, not Zionists, are running a conspiracy. It's just idiotic. I mean, he and what's his face, Dan Bilzerian. I mean, they really do. They conflate Jews with Zionism, which is the worst thing one can do. It's stupid and it's dangerous. It's like dangerous to me and my son. I mean, it's really a terrible thing to do. So it's not just stupid. and juvenile to make that conflation. As I said, it's really dangerous, and it's not right, because as we all know, the leaders of the anti-Zionist movement are all Jews. Anyway, I don't like it. It's a bad idea.
Again, revisit what he said. Just revisit. Look at his appearances. And there's a reason why Murray Rothbard,
Fair.
a Jew,
saw
him as a trailblazer in the 90s and saw him as a real threat to the establishment.
True. I guess I'm a little bit extra sensitive about this right now, because in the last just week or two, I've written a couple of pieces on Substack about Zionism, the early Zionist movement, and about how they foretold or promised really that Israel would be an eternal wartime state, because the indigenous population would resist being colonized, which is precisely what has happened and what still happens. And these pieces got good responses on Substack, but there were a couple people on Substack who really liked those pieces and wrote me and said things like, yeah, thank you for exposing the Jew conspiracy. Thank you for exposing, for writing about what the Jews have been doing, etc. And I sort of tried to educate them, or at least ask them if they knew the difference between Jews and Zionists, and they of course didn't want to hear it. So it's really important, because as I said in several places recently, short term, medium term, of course, the Palestinians are going to be suffering the gravest consequences of what's happening over there. But I think long term, I am actually more worried about Jews globally, because of the unbelievable blood libel that Israel is placing on everybody with Jewish ancestry, and what they're doing by saying we are killing these children to protect Jews, that Jews need to do this. Jews need to have children killed to protect themselves is the argument. It's exactly what the argument is. And so many people like Jake Shields and Dan Bilzerian, and there's millions more, believe that it is true, that Israel's been telling the truth. Yeah, it is this is for Jews. Jews need to kill children. Jews need to do these. Jews are inherently evil. And, there will be shootings of Jews randomly in the streets, like there have been a few times already, because of this. And there will be more, not just Israelis, but just Jews in general. There will be more. If you are identifiable as a Jew, there will be people out there who will see you and think, oh, you're a child killer because of what Israel has done. So I think it's absolutely like urgent and essential, like for my own sake, for my son's own sake, for a lot of people I care about, and for American Jews in general, who I think are like, shit, the most important, amazing subculture in American history, actually. We got to do this, man. And I think conflating these things is really, truly bad and dangerous. It's also just stupid and wrong. So David Duke, I don't know, like I will look back at his words, but I think he came at it from an anti-Semitic perspective. That's why he arrived at his anti-Zionism. I could be wrong, but I would think that's how we got there. And I just think that's
originally
the problem. But, okay, well,
but
I mean, yeah, I'd rather focus on people who don't commit anti-Zionism from anti-Semitism, or the main thing is I just want people to be very clear about the fundamental difference between the two, because it's literally a matter of life and death for some of us. Long term, it really is. There are every day there's more and more people who really hate Jews and really think that they are baby killers because of what's happening, because of what Israel has done. So that's Israel's fault. It's the fault of Zionism, but it's also the fault of ignorant people who believe Israel. It's amazing at this point. If you believe what Israel says, you should think Jews are baby killers. The blood libel is correct. That's how twisted Zionism is. Yes, shoot. Last words, or we should move on, or what?
Redistricting. Well, there's.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Gerrymandering, otherwise known as.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just think it's worth noting that I think Trump has emboldened Republicans to fight to win at this point, and that seems just by redistricting alone, it looks like there's 15 seats Republicans can gain going into 2026, and then if the Supreme Court follows Harmeet Dillon and goes after race-based districting with the Voter Rights Act, that's another 25 seats that are back up. So it looks like Republicans are playing to win. That's all. And that 2026 could get another 40 seats potentially written in as gerrymandered in Republicans' favor. Democrats who have no seats left to gerrymander are doing everything they can to fight back. And these people who openly talked about statehood for DC and Puerto Rico and stacking the Supreme Court are now left powerless as Republicans are, for the first time, abandoning their principles and playing to win.
Okay. I mean, I guess I'm just not interested because the Republicans right now are proving themselves to be just sort of the redneck version of Democrats. Outside of Thomas Massie and occasionally Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's nothing of value for me in the Republicans. I don't care who's playing the horse race more effectively.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not a horse race. Okay. I know I've totally flip-flopped on this, and I think I'm starting to warm up to Thomas Massie as an obstructionist and Lindsey Graham as an asset in that the people who play ball, like I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is getting more radical as she is seeing that she doesn't have a career in politics anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, she doesn't have inroads, so she's sort of carving out a media space for herself.
You think she's done? Why is she done?
She's not getting legislation across. She's not playing ball, and she's being more performative. That's what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing her playing ball to help things happen in the Republican Party. The big play that she did to kick out Kevin McCarthy kind of backfired on her. And now I don't think Republicans want to work with her as much as they used to. I think she's smart, and I agree with her on a lot. But yeah, I don't think she has very much upward mobility in the Republican Party. And I think, I think Trump blocked or supported her competitor when she wanted to move up to the Senate. So I think and Trump's kind of kept her at a distance recently. So yeah, right. I think, yeah.
So she's throwing grenades on the way out?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what
pretty
you're
much?
saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And carving herself a media career and not a politics career.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. So yes, I don't care if the Republicans manage to gerrymander their way into power or if the Democrats do, because I see nothing of value in either party except for, 2 or 3 Congress people. Mm-hmm. Like I think Tom Massey's useful. I think Ro Khanna is useful here and there. Who else? That's about it. There's a handful of people who are decent on Israel, but that's it. That's all we got. So,
okay.
I don't care. Fuck them.
All right. I think there's a lot that the administration is doing that the administration is getting accomplished, even if you don't like it. And I think, so let's move on. The Russia talks, okay. Steve Witkoff talked with Putin today. Yep. Trump signaled that he's going to meet with Putin within a week, and that he's going to try to get a meeting with Zelensky, have a summit put together. And he seemed as confident as he's ever seemed in front of a camera talking about this issue, that something's going to happen on this. Was the talk of nuclear submarines and escalation and Dmitry Medvedev angry texting and drunk texting each other, was that dangerous, or was that speaking loudly and carrying a big stick as well. Was that peace through strength? Are we going to see peace through strength from this, or are we going to see stupid escalation from nuclear submarines? And yeah, what's the end game on this?
So
also,
it's just unclear
mm-hmm.
why Trump has been doing what he's doing, because there's no rationality to it. Since before Trump took office, Russia has won the war. Russia has had a commanding position. The front line hasn't significantly changed in 2.5 years now. Russia has controlled the same, basically 20% of Ukraine in the east and the south since the first month of the war. The Donbass is controlled by Russia. Crimea is controlled by Russia, and significant chunks of a couple of other oblasts as well are controlled by Russia. And that hasn't changed, and it's not going to change. And every time Ukraine mounts an offensive to change that, they get beaten back, and tens of thousands of young Ukrainian men are now in graves. And so Putin has just been waiting and saying that he's just waiting for more than a year now to the West. I've won. I'm not going to negotiate. There's nothing to negotiate because you have to accept that we now control the east and the south of Ukraine. And they won't. Europe, especially, because they're zealot fanatics, anti-Russian zealots, they will not accept this. They have not accepted it. They still talk about how Ukraine can win the war. Every day, the leaders of the EU, NATO, France, Britain, Germany, every day they talk about how Ukraine can still win this war if we just send them more weapons and money. Trump in the United States, there is, as we know, more division around this, and there are people, even in the Trump administration, who are ready to leave Ukraine, and Trump himself and Vance himself have they've gone back and forth because he's Trump. But, you know, at times, of course, he's been ready to cut and run from Ukraine. So we've known, so Trump basically is acting like there's something to negotiate. Just like the Europeans, he's acting like Russia has some reason to give up anything. Russia has no reason to give up anything because Russia is not moving, because Russia has won this war. They won what they needed to win, basically, which is the protection of the people, the Russian-speaking, Russian-identified people in the east and south of Ukraine, who wanted overwhelmingly to be part of Russia. They have not denazified Ukraine. They haven't demilitarized Ukraine, and they haven't gotten a guarantee that Ukraine will not enter NATO. But their primary and urgent objective has been met a long time ago. The people in the east, in Donetsk and Lugansk, were being bombed, shelled daily by Ukrainian Nazis who wanted to rid Ukraine of everything Russian. So, as I said, Russia's won, and Putin is simply waiting for the Europe and the United States to accept it because they won't, because they've been delusional from the beginning. Now, Trump has been the least delusional of all the Western leaders about Ukraine, about the Ukraine war, and about Russia. But Trump has a lot of pressure. So in his administration, and this is what I'm getting at, and this is what we need to find out. We will eventually find out, but no one knows what's going on right now. We do know that there are two factions in the Trump administration, in the State Department, and I guess in defense and in the National Security Council. One faction wants to go hard on China. These are the China hawks, and these are led by this guy, Elbridge Colby, who's, I think, Undersecretary of State, I believe. who's a China hawk. He's an academic, and this has been his whole career, has been calling for the U.S. to pivot away from the Middle East and away from Europe to the Pacific to take on the China threat, to encircle, contain, and maybe roll back the Chinese empire, for lack of a better word. I mean, there's an empire. It's an empire that's been won entirely by doing deals, economic deals, not by conquering through military force any country. But there is a Chinese empire that's extending all the way into Africa now and across much of Eurasia. But there is also a faction in the Trump administration that wants to stay hard in the Middle East because they're hardcore Zionists. We know Michael Huckabee is in there, hardcore Zionist. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, hardcore Zionist. These are like Christian evangelical Zionists. And so there's a bunch of them in the Trump administration. They want the U.S. to stay fighting and dying and conquering and overseeing in the Middle East, largely for Israeli interests. And then there are those like, there are still some like old-fashioned neocons still around in the State Department. Marco Rubio is kind of one of them, who want to go hard against Russia. They want to make sure that the U.S. empire in Europe is solid and secure and maintained through strengthening and extending NATO. So they're fighting because, from what we've heard, these factions have really truly different objectives, and the China hawks want to move our aircraft carriers and our military bases to the Pacific, and the sort of older neocon types want to keep us where we are, which is bunched up around the Persian Gulf, around Israel, and up and down the border with Russia in Europe. So we'll see. I don't know. But Trump needs to understand. I think he does. I don't know. I think he's just bowing to the pressure from his neocon advisors, I guess, to pretend like Russia has something to give up. I mean, no, they've won. And Putin's just sitting there smiling at us. I mean, he has these press conferences and he literally just smiles when he's asked about this stuff. He just says, the West needs to understand that we're not going anywhere and we're waiting for them to like accept the reality here.
Yeah, it's a matter of pride. It's a matter of selling it to the public to where the public doesn't feel like he's kowtowing to Russia and that they've won something.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Posmo, real quick, $2 super chat. This is what you have to do if you're going to call us names. You have to pay money to do so. Hi, Libertarians. Just dropped by to say hi. Thanks, Paz.
Thanks, Paz.
Yep. This is what I was saying, though, about the right-wing infighting. So the horseshoe of people willing to criticize Israel. On the right, you've got quote-unquote anti-Semites, people who don't like Jewish people, potentially, people who at least see that there is a historical animus between Europe, Western Europe-derived people, and Jewish people, and don't want Jewish people influencing the future of Western European-derived civilization.
Yep.
On the left, you have open communists and third worlders who hate white people, hate Israel because it's white. I'm trying to steelman it as much as possible, but they have a problem with civilization itself. They are anti-colonial to the point of it's seeming outrageous to me. Like pretty much every civilization, every nation was founded by somebody winning a war at some point, like we all got here. Everything was sort of contested at some point. And it seems like these are leftist destroyers who don't like civilization. This is what it looks like to me. It's hard for me to sympathize with because of my biases. But those are the two extremes. Those are the two people beneath contempt who are willing to criticize Israel. And for there to be an effective coalition to stop what's happening right now, we need to look past their flaws, and we need to look past our hatred of third worlders and our hatred of quote unquote racists and anti-Semites. And if this thing is going to work out, you can't let that take over.
Anti-Western third worldists,
yeah,
and actual anti-Semites, right-wing anti-Semites,
mm-hmm.
they constitute a small minority of people who are anti-Israel right now.
I think
I don't see any reason to pay attention to them at all.
It's not them in particular. It's that those are the accusations that are going to be used to discredit the whole movement. And
yeah,
you need to not levy those accusations at the movement if you want the movement to have any traction. You need to not let those accusations mean anything.
Oh. So how do we do that?
That's just what I'm saying. Is like,
no, I think I think you're just off here. I mean, I think that being certainly harshly critical of Israel and being opposed to this war and being for a ceasefire, those are completely mainstream opinions now. And we know this from many, many polls, right? We know that now a majority of Republicans under the age of 50 are now opposed to the war in Israel, in Gaza. That's incredible. A majority of Republicans. And Democrats, it's like 80+%, and a huge chunk of Democrats are actual anti-Zionists. So it's very mainstream. We don't have to worry. My point is, it's over. It's over.
I get you.
The war of public opinion is over.
Yeah.
And we don't have to worry about the assholes on the fringe of our movement because these ideas are now so mainstream.
Yeah. But I feel like those people were trailblazers. You gotta give them their due. They did it before it was mainstream.
No,
they did it before everyone else did it.
No, but you don't understand. No, but you don't know the history of anti-Zionism. Like it wasn't third worldists. It was actually Trotskyists.
Okay, fair enough.
It was Marxists. It was socialists. It was Marxists. Like Norman Finkelstein. Well, actually, I guess he was a Maoist, so I guess he was a third world.
See,
but
oh, it wasn't communists. It was Trotskyists. My bad.
Well, no, there were he's Maoist. No, I guess there were. I wasn't aware, but because of him, yeah, I assume I'm sure there were Maoists who were some kind of, obviously anti-Western third worldists. But no, I mean, it was the Marxists in the 1960s and 70s who really pioneered anti-Zionism and critiques of Israel. They were the first ones to call it out.
That's why I said communists.
Yeah, but they weren't. No, but
okay, fair enough. Okay, now
that those communists they're not anti-Western in that way.
I get you.
They're not. I mean, they're actually highly Western, very bourgeois. They just
modernist,
want to they just want to redistribute. Yeah, they just want to redistribute modernity, Western modernity, more equitably. That's all.
Yeah.
No, they love the cathedrals and they love opera and they love all of that stuff. It's just that they're not. It's not a third worldist movement. They're the ones who were. They're the original critics of Israel and Zionism.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
It would be cool to do another Marx course on Unregistered Academy.
I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that. Yeah. There's a person I think we could have teach with us do that. Yeah. Yeah, we might do that. So we got to go though.
Yep. Real quick, another $2 super chat. Somebody else is begging to have Tom Luongo on. You ever think? Not that one. Tom Luongo. Personally, I'm a big fan. He's opened my eyes on a lot of things in the last couple weeks. Yeah.
People have been telling me for years now. In fact, my friend who's in prison is the one who's been pushing me to have Tom Luongo the most. I don't know what that says, but yeah, I will consider it. I just haven't had the time to really listen to him much. And I also, what he talks about is mostly above my pay grade. I just don't know international finance nearly the way he does, so it's just tricky. But yeah, I'll consider it. Anyway, we got the after show. Do you got the URL?
Yeah.
Or I mean, Patreon.
Yeah.
So there's two ways we're going to do the after show now. The Zoom hangout after Unreported that Michael and I do with our patrons and our subscribers after Unreported every Wednesday, starting now. So you can join Patreon, but if you're on Patreon already, don't worry about it. We're going to be switching over everything into Substack very soon, probably in the next week. I keep saying that, but it's true. So I would suggest if you're new here and want to hang out with us at the after show, just become a subscriber there. Thaddeus Russell Substack. The URL is right there. The Zoom link is there for paid subscribers on Substack right now, front page of my Substack. So do that. Click on it, join up, join us, hang out, and we'll see you at the after show. Michael, you good?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say if anybody for some reason doesn't like this show, I feel like this show is like just a pregame for the after show, that the after show is the real show, and that this is just like a formality. Like the after show.
Yeah, that's where we get the real business done.
Yeah,
is the after show.
So try it on for size. If you know, yeah. If you're curious,
the highlight of my week,
it's worth trying. Yeah,
it's been the highlight of my week we've been doing it for 6 years now, I think. Yeah, 6 years. So it's been, I love it. It's fun. All right. I'll see you over there.
Peace. Links to Icarus Fest in the descriptions. I want to see y'all in real life. So
word. Selling fast. Get your tickets. No bullshit. Peace.
Peace.